Hey guys, so what we're going to do for today's video is we're going to try something in our shop out here, and we're going to go over what you should be having in your toolbox as a basic tool set, and also how to pick out some basic things for your toolbox, like differences between some toolboxes themselves, hammers, different accessories you can get. So stay tuned and uh, add in what you think you should put in a toolbox, because I'm constantly learning. There are all different kinds of tools out there, and this is a really cool just kind of intro guide to see what I put in my toolboxes and what maybe you guys could put in yours. So here we have a couple of different types of toolboxes, okay? When you're deciding what kind of toolbox you want to get, really consider what you actually need for the specific project, okay? Is this something that you're going to be keeping, in a closet somewhere, so it doesn't need to be the most expensive, most durable thing in the world? How much does it actually need to handle? So I would start with buying all your tools first and then get the toolbox second. But I just want to show you three kind of examples I've got, okay? This is a typical $15 to $20 toolbox. It's made out of plastic. The nice thing about these plastic toolboxes are they're very lightweight, very easy to carry around and everything. They're not very expensive. That's a pretty nice thing. They do have some plastic drawers inside of them. This one's full right now because I was going to a project out away from it and just haven't unloaded it. But, snaps tight, even good, nice handle, pretty simple little toolbox. This one over here is an old toolbox. This kind of right here tells you how old it is. This was my grandfather's, and what's cool about this toolbox is it is solid metal. Okay, now the cool thing about these are they're incredibly durable. However, as you guys can guess, it is heavy, especially when you load up some tools in there. So it is nice. It's got a couple of different drawers. It's got a little lock spot here like all the others. I can put a nice little lock through there. Just pop the top on it real quick, and you can see that I've got all half-inch sockets up here, and I've got these nice drawers that come down. But it's a good old toolbox. This is something nice. If you don't need something flashy, you could probably pick something like this up at a yard sale for like $5. Just know that it is very, very heavy, okay? Especially when you load it up. Especially because I use this for my to-go socket set. So I've got half-inch, 3/8" drive, and 1/4". Got a 256-piece set in here. So this thing weighs about 60 pounds right now. And then this is something that I just thought of the other day while I was thinking about this video. This is an old tackle box. Okay, it's a nice old metal tackle box, but what's cool about it is it's still completely intact, and it's got its drawers for tackle, which you can use to store all of your different tools. Now, some of these small ones up here might be a little bit, they might be too small for most things, but if you happen to have one of these just laying around, not getting any use, or you can find one for free or for $2 at a pawn shop or something like that, this is a good alternative, okay? What I would highly recommend, and I said this earlier, is get all of your tools first and then pick out your toolbox, simply because you don't need the biggest and fanciest toolbox, as well as you don't want to get something that's super, super heavy, but you also want to make sure, like a toolbox like this, if I was to put all my socket sets into this toolbox right here, it would literally fall apart because it's not made for heavy duty applications like this, okay? The cool thing about this toolbox is it's cheap. I don't care much about it, so I can keep this in the trunk of my car, okay? I keep a basic set of tools in it most of the time, which we're going to go over here in a little bit. But something like this, it's heavy duty. I don't want to move it around that much, so this stays here in my garage for the most part. And it is my set aside go-to socket set. This is a full-on socket set, not a basic set. But so just be considering, what are you actually going to use it for? Would you care if it went missing? That's something very, very important to consider. I don't take this many places simply because I would be pretty upset if it went missing. Like I said, it has a lot of meaning to me, and personal meaning, and so I would not want to see that go missing. So I don't take that really much anywhere. So that's covering toolboxes. Now let's move on to some of our basic tools. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here, okay? And before we even get into this, this is just my personal opinion, okay? This is not a hard and fast rules to live by or anything like that, but these are some tools that I would suggest that you keep in your basic set of toolbox to get started. If you are just keeping this in your closet somewhere, or if you are looking to start a toolbox set that you can keep in your garage or something like that, this is what I would start with, okay? So we've got, obviously, we'll just go ahead and get it out of the way. Probably one of the most used tools is a hammer, okay? Now, the most important thing when picking out a hammer is do not go out and buy one based off of a price point or cool features or anything like that. Most of the time, you just need a very basic 16-ounce hammer, okay? How you should pick your hammer out is rarely to do with up here, and more to do with right here, okay? You want to feel how that actually grips in your hand, because if you are going to be using this, you want to see how that grips in your hand more than anything else, okay? Because there are specialty hammers out there. I actually have a framing hammer and a ball peen hammer, I'll show you here in a minute, that are for completely different uses. When you're getting your first hammer, just get a nice curved claw, flat based. You don't want anything on there, but most importantly, make sure it feels good in your hand. Let's go over here, okay? Obviously, we've got screwdrivers. Now, you'll want at least two. You'll want a flathead and a Phillips, okay? You know they're Phillips because it's got the little crosshairs, right? Which you really can't see. Nope, okay. But I would just start with a very basic set of flathead and Phillips. There are literally thousands of different types of screwdrivers, guys. Okay, get one that's gonna be made out of some decent metal, but don't spend a fortune. You'll notice that some of the tips, even on the flathead ones, or I'm sorry, the Phillips head one, they're different sizes. They have different depths they're really meant to go to. Just get a basic set, and then when you find that you need others, you can expand upon that. Get yourself a basic set of wrenches, okay? Besides a hammer, this is probably the tool that you will actually use the most around the house or on a car or anything like that. Get both a set of SAE, which are standard, so that's your, you know, quarter, 5/16, 11/32, and the metrics, okay? So if you learn anything, if you ever work on a vehicle at all, you're going to notice that you're going to want a 10 millimeter metric wrench, okay? You're going to use that joker a lot, okay? Over here, we've got a tape measure. Again, same thing with the hammer. Get one that works, okay? You don't need the most expensive, fanciest, anything like that. It's nice if they have the self-locking mechanism to where it locks in place, to where all I got to do is just press this back and it slides in, okay? But more important than getting a tape measure is the ability to read it, okay? So make sure you can see the numbers good. I like this one a lot because you can really, it's got really, really well-defined measurements all the way down to the 16ths. A good tape measure, that's very, very important, okay? You want to be accurate. I like to have a little bitty level stored in mine. This one's nice because it's got a little magnet on the base, so it can stick to things. So I can stick it onto the side or on things like that. And it's got three-way reading, okay? So get yourself a little bitty level. We've got bigger ones, obviously, but I would start with something basic like that. My favorite tool in this entire thing are these guys right here. Get yourself a pair of gloves, because you will represent yourself a lot of frustration, a lot of injuries, okay? Just get yourself a good set of gloves. This is a basic utility knife. Okay, this one happens to just fold up. I liked this one because I was working on a roofing project and needed something that I could cut shingles with. And I liked that it folded up and had a little clip right there, okay? The other thing is that it stores the blade all the way back. And to change the blade, all I do is press that button right there. Pretty cool. But just get yourself a basic utility knife, okay? Get some wood glue. Doesn't have to be crazy expensive. I do like this Type Bond stuff. Type Bond 3 works really, really well. Just get yourself some and make sure when you store it that you close it. I cannot tell you how many times I've ruined wood glue because I forgot to close it. Hex wrenches or whatever you guys call it. They've got 1,000 different names. Get yourself a set of those. Both, again, SAE and metric. They make them in these cool little folding sets. And then here's a section where you could just go nuts, okay? But here's what I would start with, okay? I would get needle nose pliers, a basic set of pliers. I would get these side cutters, and then I would get an adjustable wrench, because if you don't have the right size wrench, you can always get an adjustable wrench to fit it, okay? And then I wanted to show you this because this is more of a specialty tool, okay? This is a really nice thing, but this tool was also about $65. This is an adjustable wrench / pliers all in one that does this really cool locking mechanism. The only reason I got this is because I had a very specific project I needed it for, and I used to work in tool sales, so I used to get a really good deal on them. So that's just an example of specialty tools. Don't buy anything like this just to put in your basic tool set, because this tool right here costs what I can buy almost all of the rest of these here for, okay? So just be aware of that as you're going around and you're starting to get your basic tool set. Okay, now let's move on to some differences, what I was talking about how to pick out, a basic tool versus a more specialty tool. All right, so let's talk about one of the most hotly debated topics when you're buying your first hammer, okay? So here we have 4 different styles of hammers. Yes, these are all hammers, but they all have specific different jobs, okay? So this is the one we talked about earlier, okay? This is one I bought years ago. It is a nice general use hammer. I can use this thing for just about everything, okay? Nice features I like about it are that the metal is all the way through the handle, so it's a good weighted hammer. This is 16 ounce. I would start with probably a 16 ounce hammer, okay? Because the nice thing about weight is, yeah, it might be easier to swing a little bit, but the added weight will drive your nail in harder, okay? But if you're just getting your first, you might start off with a little bit lighter weight, because if you mess up, you won't drive it as far. But the most important thing is get something that's comfortable to grip, okay? You'll even see it has a cool feature. I would start getting a curved claw like this. I can't remember the official name. But you'll notice this one even has a nice little feature. That's to pull a nail. If it won't go all the way back up into here, you can get it right there on the curb, okay? So that's a cool feature. This is called a ball peen hammer, okay? Notice it's got 2 different ends, okay? These are used a lot more in body work and bending metal and things. I would not really recommend using these to drive in nails. For one thing, it is heavy. And all of the weight is right here at the very end of the hammer. Right here, because it's got this wooden handle, when you're holding it back here, all of the weight is forward. So your forearms are going to be exhausted by the time you're done using that thing. Okay, this is, let's see if you guys can hear that at all. Okay, hear that? This is called a dead blow, okay? I use these for all different kinds of things. I use them for wood a lot of times if I'm trying to pound a piece of wood, tap it together, because if I use a traditional hammer, I'm going to leave marks in the wood. This is not going to do that because it's got made out of rubber on the end, okay? And the sand inside is used for body work and things, because when I hit it, it doesn't bounce. Okay, notice that? It doesn't bounce anywhere. If I were to take this hammer and go like that, first of all, I'd mess my table saw up, but it would also bounce up off the wood, okay? So dead blow hammer is really nice to have. And let's get over here. This is, you will see these as sales gimmicks at Lowe's, Home Depot, and when people are like, okay, I just need a basic hammer, they end up getting something like this, okay? Now, I own one, but I only bought it recently because I was helping build a garage, okay? And I didn't want to use this one necessarily because I knew I was going to be using a lot of nails that day, and so I knew that would wear my arm out. So I wanted a lighter weight hammer, but I also wanted the weight more towards the head, as well as you'll notice the shape here, okay? Take a look at that shape. Look different to you guys? The way this is designed, it is designed to have most of its weight right up here, and it is only 14 ounces, so it is a very, very easy to hold. The handle is nice on it. It is a fantastic hammer, but I do not use it around the garage like ever, okay? Also, the claw on it is very straight compared to the claw on the general use hammer because for when I was framing a house, that type of claw was going to be a little bit nicer. As well as, you'll notice the texture on here. See if you guys can see that, okay? The texture on that really helps me when I'm framing. It doesn't matter if I leave marks on the woods, but that helps me to get that extra little bit of grip on the head of the nail and drive it in and keep it straight so it doesn't slide on the nail when I hit it. So I bought this with a specific project in mind, okay? Another cool feature this thing has right here is this piece right here. It's got a little magnet on the top. So if I'm reaching really hard somewhere and I can't really quite reach it, instead of having to hold my hand out there to hold it, I can put my nail right there, or in this case a screw, and I can tap and it'll hold that there, and then the nail will be stuck in, and then I can drive it. So I can do it one-handed. Pretty cool hammer. But that's the difference when you're going through and you're looking at buying hammers. That's some things that you really need to look at is, what am I going to be using this for? Okay? I would not buy a specialty hammer unless you have a specific job in mind. Okay? Now let's move on to something else. Alright, now this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit. This is not just according to these adjustable wrenches. I wanted to talk about, all the different specialty and gimmicks people will try to sell you on when it comes to each different type of tool. These are all different adjustable wrenches, okay? Lots and lots of differences. But I wanted you to notice not only the features of them, but I want you to notice the difference in quality, okay? So this is one of the first ones I had, okay? It's just a little cheap. You can tell that the pieces are, instead of being solid, they're riveted together. Now, would I recommend against buying this? No. This is a great beginner adjustable wrench, okay? It even has a little feature to where the head ratchets back so that I can, there you go. So I can be adjusting and it'll help ratchet and slide over the head of the bolt. It's a good starter, okay? Then I was like, okay, well, I actually need something a little bit bigger, so I went and bought this, okay? Now, this is a much bigger one. This is also not that expensive. It's just a off-brand, let's see, made in Taiwan, but it's a nice big adjustable wrench, okay? Now, something with both of these that I had trouble with sometimes is that the head, or I don't know what you'd call that, the channel, has a little bit of give in it. So you'd constantly be trying to adjust this, okay? So this is a standard 8-inch adjustable wrench, but it is a much better quality, okay? It's forged, and when I put it on the head of a bolt and I tighten it up to it, this has very, very, very little play in it. So the quality, okay? So as I progressed through and I realized which tools I was using more and more and more, I realized, okay, I needed a little bit nicer quality adjustable wrench. I shouldn't even say needed. It's just that this was going to make my life a little bit better, okay? I would not recommend starting off and going out and buying the top quality, unless you can afford that, adjustable wrench, because you don't know how often you're going to need it. If you use an adjustable wrench like twice a year, get something like this, okay? Now, I wanted to show you some of the gimmick ones, okay? So let's start with this one. This is the one I got suckered into buying. This is made by Crescent. It had this sliding adjustable, and what was cool about it was it had the number on there, okay? Now, does it do a good job? It does okay. Yeah, it does okay. If any sawdust or anything like that gets down in there, it kind of messes it up a little bit. I've had to lube it up several times, but for the most part, it's mostly a gimmick. I don't know if it's worth the 20-25 bucks this probably was. Here's another one by Bostitch. Their big thing was, again, a ratcheting system similar to the cheap Craftsman down here. And it also had the numbers on the back of it, so you could see you guys can't really see that, but it was supposed to, so if you knew it was a 1/4-inch head, you could adjust right to it. It's okay. And then you have this style, okay? This is a really cool thing. I really liked this. This one, you adjust it down, and let's say you wanted to really make sure you got a good grip on it, okay? So I've adjusted it down, and now I could lock it in there like a pair of vice grips. So this is like a hybrid between a adjustable wrench and a pair of vice grips. So this was cool. And then I went and spoiled myself and got a pair of Knipex adjustable ones. Now this one, you push a button, you slide it in. It is not going to move out of that location no matter what. It'll actually have to break these teeth before it moves. The handle, I don't know if you guys can see, is very ergonomically designed. That's because I was using adjustable wrenches all the time and justified it to myself. Did I actually need this tool? No. This tool, again, if I paid full price for it, which I know for a fact I didn't, this would have been a $60 to $70 tool right here, okay? The price of all of it's more, this tool is more than all of the rest of these combined, hands down. But I just wanted to show you the differences in between your quality as well as gimmicks, okay? When you're getting your first set of tools, stick with more quality focused as opposed to gimmick focused, okay? If you just are looking to get a basic set and you realize you don't use a tool that much, get something that does the job, okay? Don't spend all of your money on getting a really nice quality adjustable wrench like this and not be able to get the rest of your tools. What I suggest doing is getting a basic set, something like either one of these or any of these three really. And then as you realize which tools you use more and more and more, then invest in some, maybe a couple gimmicky ones, see if you like them or not. Some of them work great. I really liked this one. I liked it so much that I realized that I wanted to get a really nice quality version of it, okay? That's why I ended up getting these, okay? So, but that's something to keep in mind, okay? I've spent way too much time talking about crescent wrenches. Let's move on to something else here. All right, let's talk about socket sets, okay? If you are working on a vehicle ever, these are something that you're going to really invest in over time. But everybody should have a basic socket set. This is a really nice $10 to $15 set. Comes with a cheap 3/8 ratchet, and then it comes with variant sizes between 1/4 inch drive and 3/8 drive. And you'll notice that it comes even with a little adapter to go down to the 1/4 inch. And then here's a little extension, okay? I would definitely make sure you have at least one 3/8 extension. You'll be surprised how often you actually need this. These are standard depth sockets, okay? So this is a 14 millimeter in a standard depth. What I mean by depth is its reach over the socket itself, okay? The circumference, or the diameter, what am I trying to say? Yeah, the distance across here is 14 millimeter. It's for a 14 millimeter bolt. And this is a 6-pointed. When you start to get into more specialty sockets, you'll notice that you have sockets that are, let me grab this real quick, what we call deep well or deep sockets, okay? So this is a 10 millimeter socket, but it's a deep socket, and look at the depth difference between them, okay? This is for bolts that have a really tall head, or if you need a little bit extra reach or anything like that. That's going to be your difference, okay? But I would definitely start with something like this. This is going to be like 20 bucks. When you step into something like this, this is a socket set that is highly unorganized right now. I need to clean it up. This is probably around the $100 mark, $120 mark. You'll notice that, you know, there's some ones missing that out of their sleeves and stuff. These are nice. They're little organizers. They're pretty cool. I would say that 99% of what you're going to need ever is going to be included in here, okay? You might need to go out and buy that one socket that's a particular size. Like this is a really large socket, 1 1/16. I have some that are over there that I've bought for specific projects, like to remove like the half shafts off of a vehicle before, okay? But instead of going out and buying a set, I can just go out and buy that one socket that's like a 2 3/4, something like that. It's massive, okay? So once you've started with this is something nice to keep in your toolbox, your basic toolbox, which we talked about earlier, or keep in the trunk of your car. This is what I kept in my car at all times. Then if you really start yourself, you know, you want to get a basic mechanics tool set, I would start heading towards this direction. And once you've gone down the rabbit hole for a while, then and only then are you going to consider a setup something like this, okay? So this is a large socket set here, okay? This is my 1/2 inch drive, okay? We've got tons and tons of different sizes. And then you've got your 3/8 shallow sockets right here, as well as a bunch of different extensions. And then I've even got these specialty bits here that are star bits. I use those quite often, okay? And then we've got the 3/8 deep well. And then you've got your 1/4 inch, okay? And this is not something you need unless you are really, really wanting to invest some time in it. This is a couple $100 worth of sockets, and I have acquired this set over years and years and years. Um, I really wouldn't recommend going this far down the rabbit hole unless it's something you genuinely want to invest in and want to invest the time to learn the skills as well. So that pretty much covers sockets. So that's it for today's lesson on tools. If you have some tools that you like particularly putting in your tool set, I would love to know what you guys suggest, and take pictures and shoot me some stuff. I'd love to see what you guys do. I'm always looking to add to my sets. Again, this is just a general guide to see where a good place to start would be. I always recommend starting on getting a basic set, and don't worry about investing high dollar amounts until you really decide what tools you use often. Then you can slowly progress your setup, okay? I hope you guys learned something today, and as always, I hope to see you guys next time.